This episode of the Totally Rad Show is brought to you by Netflix. Coming up, we enter the Warhammer 40,000 universe with the new game Space Marine.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Totally Rad Show. We've got a great week. Today we're getting our hands on Space Marine Warhammer 40K.
Indeed. And then tomorrow we're playing a little title fight.
Yeah.
And then on Wednesday, I didn't know there's more. And then on Wednesday, we check out a movie that doesn't come out till the end of the month, but so special to us that we wanted to show you the review early.
Spoiler alert.
It's called 50/50.
Thursday we are starting headlong into the fall premiere of television series. So we're going to be talking about A Gifted Man, the new one starring Patrick Wilson.
And then Friday, of course, more fall premieres. It is pilots. We got
Pilots.
Pilots.
This is
pilots,
what,
pilots,
this is
pilots.
what I was
about
saying.
pilots.
And stewardesses, indeed. Pan Am. We get on board Pan Am.
Yes, the friendly skies are friendly again. Or are they?
We got a very cool Space Marine-y looking background sent in by Mike Chess. Thank you, Mike.
Correct.
If you want to send your background in and get your artwork on our show, you can send it to fans@totallyradshow.com. And if you're looking for our logo is on our Flickr account, flickr.com/totallyradshow.
Amazing. Let's get into it.
Yes, it's true that Gears of War 3 comes out this week, but we will be talking about that next week. What we are talking about this week is a different kind of Space Marine, the original Space Marine, Warhammer 40K Space Marine, Warhammer 40K or 40,000 or 4,000, I don't know. It's gone by many monikers. It was a tabletop miniatures game that Games Workshop has put out since, I think, '87.
Yeah, my buddy in high school was really into the tabletop miniature at Warhammer, and I just couldn't understand it.
It's one of my big regrets is not getting more into that, because I feel like I love it.
When you said original, I was wondering if it had come out before Aliens, but I guess not after it.
Yeah.
So.
But I don't think it shares too much in common with it. I mean, it was a spin-off of
the original Space Marines.
It was a spin-off of Humans vs. Orcs, which is the original Warhammer, and they were like, let's do the future version. And Space Marine 40K is Relic's video game third-person action version. They've, of course, done in the past some great titles like Homeworld. What was that? Homeworld?
Homeworld, there were two.
Homeworld 2. And of course they did the Dawn of War series, which is the real-time strategy version of Warhammer 40K. And now we've got the Space Marines starring in their own action game. This is a straight-up third-person, balls-to-the-wall, killing hordes of orcs all the time using both ranged weaponry and melee attacks. I would say there are very few games that combined melee and ranged guns as well or as effectively as this game seems to do, because you literally have your trademark chainsaw sword and pulse axe and all those cool things that the Warhammer miniatures have, but also machine guns and maybe the coolest shotgun ever to be put in a game. Alex, this seems like a game that would be right up your alley. You love yourself the Gears of Wars. You love yourself shooting people in the face and head area.
But no cover system.
No cover system, and I'd say a pretty strong reliance on melee.
Yeah.
It does have, I mean, you can shoot, but you're often running out of ammo, and really found myself sort of just going ahead and meleeing the crap out of people. And there was fun to be had doing that. First off, I think the game looks great. I love the design of the Warhammer world, the sort of big shoulders, the kind of vibe that I was hoping for. There was a game that was gonna be coming out that was an MMO that was from Mythic.
Too Human?
No, it's called, oh man, I can't remember, but basically the whole concept of the thing was the Rome never fell, flash forward to 2125. So it's still the Empire of Rome with all of the sort of cool Roman Latin vibe, but yet now it's the space age and it's an MMO. I was very excited for that. And this is the vibe that you get from this. It's very sort of Roman, you know, there's like all this Latin in it, and there's sort of this like ornate flags and, not flags, but you know, big shoulders with like lions' heads that are like gold, and you're running around.
It's like the dynasty of.
It is.
Dallas of
it is.
Well, of course, the mythology. The mythology of the Warhammer 40K universe is that the Space Marine, you know, as opposed to real life Marines, but the Space Marines are sort of the most high class, wealthiest of the culture, and they get genetically modified to be like 8 feet tall and able to like, carry all that stuff.
Yeah.
And so it's. Main character in this game, voiced by one of my favorite actors, Mark Strong. I know you guys like him
interesting.
as well.
Really? I did not know that.
I didn't hear that.
So anyway, so I really enjoyed the milieu. I thought the music was really great. There's a lot of really great stuff. Ultimately, I just didn't find the combat system fun.
Really?
Yeah, I was always constantly spinning around the camera the wrong way. It didn't feel... I was excited to pick up the controls and play Gears of War with this amazing story and milieu that I love, and that's not at all what I got.
It's not that game.
It's not. And that, I think maybe it was my anticipation of that, because the moment I started moving and meleeing, I was like, oh, this is not going to be as much fun for me as Gears of War.
Really?
Yeah, and I really didn't have as much fun. I never locked into the combat system as a really fun combat system. I was sort of constantly kicking people and then recharging my health and just kind of swarms of people and then...
Well, you bring up a really interesting point, because I think health is handled in a really interesting way in this game.
Very interesting and very
There's no
new.
health packs, there's no stuff. It really forces you to keep fighting, and when you have a rechargeable bar, but then you have a bar that doesn't recharge, and the only way to get that bar back is to execute someone, perform an execution, which I think pushes you forward into the fights.
But also forces you to use melee. And that was one of the things I really felt like, I don't like when I get forced to use melee, even when, because I'm just a range guy, I just enjoy range better, if it's an option. Right. And starting out with a gun, I'm going to choose the gun over going up and hitting anybody every day of the week, but this, it really felt like that wasn't really an option. You could shoot sort of, but then there's just too many people. It's basically a melee game where they give you guns.
Well, I really disagree. Did you have that experience?
I disagreed as well. I didn't. But I agree with everything Alex said about the world, and like I love the look of it. And this also was a child. Always as a child wanted to paint these things and play with these things. And I loved that aesthetic so much. I would buy the books. About like with the pictures of them, and like the dungeon master. Yeah, I wouldn't read it. I would just like I love the pictures of it, and I you know just didn't. It was you know above my reading level, honestly. When at the age I was getting into them. So
23.
I love that. I love that they finally made a game that is so accessible. That is a rock and roll version of this thing that's got a big barrier to entry, and I had so much fun with it. And it really doesn't reinvent too much, but it does what it does very well. Although, as I'm saying, I'm realizing, you know what? It does quite a few unique things. I loved having to fight to gain health. And I think I was pretty harsh on that game, El Shaddai, that also uses combat system in a unique way and engages you in the combat system that makes you fight to change weapons, and this makes you fight to gain health. And I think that really worked well in this game. I didn't love it in El Shaddai, but I loved it in this. And it really, and see, I love that it forced me to be more creative in how I played the game, that I couldn't just do what I do in every other game, which is the easiest way to win is sit back behind cover and just pick off people as a shooting gallery. This really engaged all of its facets. Like I was forced to play this game. And I loved every weapon. While they may not have been as unique as weapons in a game like Resistance 3, but they were different and they worked differently and they all worked really well at what they were doing. I loved that shotgun thing. I loved
the melter gun.
I love that I always could find a good use of each weapon. I always really needed each weapon in a different scenario. I had so much, and there was tons of big, epic, thrilling moments. I particularly loved one where we're in a helicopter-type vehicle, and normally that mode in any other game is you're on a gun and you're shooting things, and it was a cool thing that you're shooting like little Rocketeer guys. But then you can break out of that, and you're in that thing. You have to run over this thing, and it was very quick, But boy, was that like, I felt like I was in this epic action sequence.
Yeah, I really liked it too. It's interesting. My one gripe, it kind of piggybacks what you were saying, which is that I had so much fun with the weapons. I wish I could have crafted my own loadout. Like, I was mad that I had to swap this gun for that gun specifically, instead of saying, well, I had to choose either the melter or the sniper thing.
Yeah.
Why can't I decide that I want to have the melter and the sniper thing and give up my pistol or give up my, every gun was really cool, so I didn't feel like it was a balancing issue. Maybe they did feel like it was a balancing issue, but other than that, boy, I really love this game. You mentioned how great it looks. It really does. It's smooth, and they are throwing tons of enemies at you. I mean, you are really fighting orc hordes. And I heard somebody mention that the Games Workshop guys have always said that a fair fight is basically one Space Marine for 1,000 orcs, and that's how you feel. That, how every Xbox Live Arcade or Xbox Live game will have an introductory achievement where it's like you get it right at the beginning and it's like 5 points. It just kind of gets you used to getting achievements.
Yeah.
The one in this one is like kill 100 orcs, which because it happens so fast that it's the introductory achievement.
Yeah.
And you are killing thousands and thousands of orcs.
And they definitely had that the feel of being a complete and utter space badass is so in this game.
Yeah.
And the way that they execute things, I mean, for me it was simply just that little balancing issue between not enough range and too much melee for me personally. But they really, I mean, it's very satisfying, this game. You know
you're right. There's a lot of wonderful visceral feedback. Like, the guys don't just die, they sort of pop in bloody explosions, which is very visceral and very fun to see. I love the crafting of the encounters, because you get in these situations where you have tons of guys running towards you, and then you have guys picking you off at the top, so you really are forced to shoot and attack and mix things up, and you have so many different means at your disposal. There's an awesome charge effect that you can do, and you have this rage meter that lets you unleash, overpowered moment where you can charge it up and unleash it. I just had so much fun. I feel like this is a game that more people need to see. I fear it will be overlooked with the impending release of Gears and all these other great games that are coming out in the fall.
Especially because it looks so much like Gears, but you're right, it is not Gears of War.
Yeah,
you know what
I don't think it's trying to be, and I made that mistake too.
Yeah.
I think the reason why we had so much fun playing this game
That sounded like angry fun.
is because I want to emphasize the word
Not
fun.
good fun, but
over
fun.
I want to emphasize the word fun over challenge or excitement or feeling it's the greatest game ever. But the fun factor comes in, something I've been thinking about just philosophically in general. I think I brought up with you guys, but the idea of being overpowered or underpowered in games. And so often games are about, the difficulty comes from you being underpowered and having to work your way up to being powerful. But there is plenty of joy in this, and you being overpowered, and it's not that the enemies are easy, so you overpower them.
Right.
Yeah.
You're overpowered, but there's a poop ton of them.
Yeah.
So you really have to work to use your overpoweredness against them, and choose how to use your overpowered. So that's why you feel like it's satisfying, because you are better than they are, but there's a
lot more of them
It feels
than
like
you.
you're fighting a waterfall of orcs sometimes, and you're just
sometimes you
mowing
are.
through them.
It makes me want to play
cool.
Dynasty. I remember playing the first Dynasty Warriors, and it was terrible.
I didn't really love those games.
But, yeah, me neither. But this made me feel like maybe I would like it now with this new philosophy of like overpowered versus size,
And the game
scope.
holds up under that kind of stress. I never saw a lower frame rate.
Wow, it's butter.
And it's really, really, really fun. But all right,
Space Marine. All right, everybody, be sure to stick around for this day in rad history. But first, Dan Trachtenberg, how about you explain what Netflix is and how amazing it is?
Well, I don't need to explain it for many of you, because apparently 23 million people subscribe to Netflix. And 23 million people cannot be wrong. Netflix is the world's largest subscription service to streaming TV and movies.
Yeah.
So you can watch thousands of titles on a vast array of devices like your Xbox 360, your PS3, your
Do you
Wii.
remember back when we first started doing the show and Netflix sponsored us and most people didn't know what that was?
Yeah.
Remember that?
Crazy.
Crazy. Actually, I feel like there was never that time.
No, there was though.
Yeah.
There really
Of
was.
course.
And now they've just
So yeah, you can stream any of these things directly to your door, directly to your console, any device you have. Really, I dare you to bring up a device that it doesn't work on.
My bad.
In fact, I recommend.
Actually, I got the new
device.
Samsung backed up. It's got.
I recommend.
It's got Netflix.
I have yet to watch. I'm excited that it's on instant streaming. Winter's Bone, a movie we missed last year,
yeah.
is on Netflix instant streaming.
It's on your bathtub.
and it's in Knox's bathtub. He's going to watch Winter's Bone. Perfect place for it. So for a limited time, as a new member and a TRS watcher, you get a free 30-day trial. So go to netflix.com/TRS and sign up.
Amazing. All right, people, we will see you tomorrow.
Don't miss tomorrow's show for another edition of Title Fight.
Today is September 19th, and on this day in rad history, back in 1928, Steamboat Willie premiered at the Colony Theater in New York, and animation history was made.
Yeah, too bad nothing ever happened with that character, huh?
Yeah, I know. I'm glad that they kept his name.
Then, of course, the first appearance of Mickey Mouse, drawn and written?
By Walt Disney?
Probably.
Conceived by Walt Disney. Did he draw Mickey Mouse?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, he was an animator, that's why I started his thing. You should just watch Bio. Thank you.
Still the best
Oscar Vernis.
drawing of whistling ever put on. I don't know. Aww. His little lips are like. I don't know.